Good evening and welcome to CLC Online. My name's David. I'm one of the pastors here at St Helens CLC, and we also run the online church, as you can obviously see. And if you're watching for the first time, that's awesome. Welcome. We're going to have a carry on, basically, of what we've been doing for the whole year. Basically, we've been going through the book of John. We are on chapter 12 at the moment, which is awesome. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Crazy echo. Oh no. Right, let me just... The lovely, amazing thing of technology is just fantastic. Please do let me know if it's fine. Let me just check. I think there was... please let me know if that's all right, if that works. If it's fine, let me just check. There we go. I think I might have got it sorted. Oh, we do like the technology in this place, I tell you. That's why we wasn't on last week, because we had some issues with technology. That's why I couldn't get on. I feel like it's been a while since I've been on. Obviously, the last time I was on, I think, was at the beginning of May. But I've been away for most of May. Been quite busy. We went to a leaders event, and then I was in California for two Wednesdays, and we went away as a family the week after. And thankfully, you had some amazing people on. Carl's been amazing, and we thank you, Carl, for being on and just carrying on what we've been doing. And you were doing chapter 11, which was amazing. And obviously you had Craig and Sean as well, where they were just sharing the vision, which is amazing. So hopefully you haven't missed me too much, and you've enjoyed the difference. Having somebody on that's been slightly different, that's great. But tonight we're going to just go through chapter 12 of John. You've probably already seen the post today, or you maybe you're following with us like you have been for the last since we've been doing this. I think we've been doing this since November. So we've gone 12 chapters since November, which is amazing because it's just so much goodness, and sometimes it's just good just not to rush. I'm only going to be able to do 30 minutes today because I have a dead car and I'm having to get the bus. So so I'm going to try and get through as much as I can tonight. Also, if you can hear shouting in the background, I'm in church and they've got a prayer meeting on at the moment, and they're quite passionate over there at the moment, so that's good. So I've got my brew ready, and do put in the chat where you're watching from, who you are. I'd love to hear from you. I want to know who's watching and stay connected. This is your time to, get involved in the chat because we love the chat. It's a great resource where we can connect together because I don't want to simply just be me just chatting to myself all night. I want to know who's out there. I want you to talk to me. I want you to ask me questions. I want you to see what I say tonight and just ask about them. What's really stuck out to you in chapter 12 or what's coming out to you as I'm speaking. So awesome. India said, I'll take you home. Thank you very much, India. Yeah, so but going on about chapter 12, again, we've got online passes on, so it's been a while since I've done this, so I kind of feel like I'm a bit flustered and remembering what we have to do. And so we've got online pastors on as well, who will obviously pray for you, answer any questions if I miss anything. I've got two lots of chats going on the side. I've got YouTube and Facebook, so I am going to try and keep up to tabs with the chat and just obviously Kirsty's watching from home with India on the TV, which makes my head look fat. So that's good. So have fun with that. So let me just kick off by just asking, what have you, if you've got any specific turning points in your life, is there anything that has been significant turning point in your life? Do you have memories of decisions about, perhaps schooling, a career change, or moving to a new place? We've moved enough times, and we've always had that conversation of, what do we do? Can we afford it? And where are we going? But was your life altering moment when you fully invested in maybe a friendship, or maybe you joined the church for the first time, or had to decide if there was two churches and you had to decide which one you wanted to go to? I don't know if there's anybody out there that might be going through something like that. Hint, hint. Or maybe you're committing to a marriage, and you're asking questions of like, oh, what's going on? Every choice that we weigh up reveals something about who or what drives us, about our hearts. Greatest and our greatest desires. As momentous as these changes can be in our lives, no life-changing episode has the magnitude of hearing the truth about Jesus and believing in him. My encounter with Jesus was a massive encounter that absolutely changed everything in my life. Not only my way of thinking, but me as a person. My character had completely changed. Those who fix their eyes on Jesus and follow him, whatever the cost, know peace and true satisfaction, in absolutely every circumstance. As we walk through chapter 12 tonight, will you do me a favor, and will you ask God to help you understand and apply what we discover together tonight in this chapter? At this point in John's Gospel, in chapter 12, Jesus' followers might have considered his raising of Lazarus to be like the apex of his work. It's like a Formula One term. I love that apex corner. It's the sharpest point of the corner. And for me, it's like, was this Jesus's apex? Was this the pinnacle of Jesus? I mean, he's just raised someone from the dead. I mean, that kind of tops off a lot of miracles, doesn't it? Certainly it was an astonishing miracle that clearly showed everyone that Jesus is God. However, John's gospel also reveals the increasing division between those living in darkness and those walking in the light. Some greeted this proof of Jesus' power with adoration and worship. Others plotted to murder the creator and sustainer of life. It's just crazy, isn't it? Thank you for messaging, Lou. It's good to see you on, Julianne. And she's saying, my life is going through a pretty huge change right now. Well, we just pray, like, God, that you will just not only light up that way, but you make a path that is so easy, that's so comforting, but also challenging in a way. We don't want to be too comfortable, do we? But we just pray, Lord, that you would just tangibly be in that presence for Julianne, that God, that as she walks her journey, that she sees you in every aspect of her life, and just release that over your life right now, Julianne. So chapter 12 recounts Jesus' preparations and public entry into Jerusalem, right? 6 days before Passover, Jesus and his disciples quickly arrive in Bethany. Martha serves dinner. Her brother Lazarus eats with them, pretty alive. And Mary, in prophetic devotion, anoints Jesus with perfumed oil that she had reserved until now for the day of Jesus' burial. The next day, Jesus will enter Jerusalem, fulfilling prophecies about God's promised king. In his entry into town, he will approach his hour, Israel's rejection that would lead to his crucifixion. Through his sacrifice on the cross, Jesus would accomplish God's promised redemption of his children, which was symbolized in the Passover celebration. Although the Lord's greatest crisis was ahead of him, it would be the turning point of all history and for every person in the world. Do you doubt that Jesus understands you when you are wrestling and knowing God's will and wondering how it fits in with the things that you deeply want? Jesus knows exactly what you're going through, Julianne, and everyone watching. He knows exactly what you're going through. After all, Jesus experienced conflict in every way during his life, at every turn. But he overcame them all through loving dependence of his Father. He had to rely on the Father. Are you holding back from complete devotion to Jesus, our Lord? Do you struggle to fit in the world's mold and follow Jesus at the same time? Do you have your feet in the world, and one foot in the world and one foot in church or in faith? That path is filled with division and strife. It leads only to eventually disappointment and emptiness. But the good news is, if we completely surrender to God, he brings the victory. God delivers his children and fills them with freedom. Wherever you are, wherever you do, whoever you are, do you believe that Jesus is right there for you right now, ready to receive you wholeheartedly? He just wants your devotion to him. He just wants your love. He just wants your commitment. He just wants you to be in partnership with him. Let me just see if there's any comments before I carry on. Oh, I had a huge thing happen today that showed he was answering prayers. That's amazing. That's so good. He shows up, doesn't he? It's a great testimony there. So looking at John chapter 12, starting at 1 to 11, we'll see how far we get on this. We see that John's report, the book of John, not John the Baptist, but the guy who wrote the book. We see that John's report on Jesus' arrival in Bethany focuses again on the loving relationship he shares with Lazarus. Mary and Martha, they obviously are the brother of Lazarus, and they are like Jesus' busy mates, right? And you can just see the relationship. And we heard before in chapter 11 where, Jesus was actually weeping. He was that upset, even though he knew what had happened. When Jesus last visited to raise Lazarus from the death, Martha had supported Jesus with unshakable trust and energetic obedience. She was very keen. Now Mary shows a reverent love and a gratitude towards her Lord in costly generosity and unstrained tenderness. It's just such a contrast to the way she was before. She was quite timid. I feel like Mary seemed like she was somewhat quiet, meditative in a way. In the last chapter, she was it seemed like she was just chilling out a lot. But this time she's just like full on worshipping. But now she drops that natural reserve to publicly worship Jesus. Had she heard and believed Jesus' previous teaching about his upcoming death? Did she have a secret conversation where she knew what was going to happen? Because obviously this perfume was there for the burial of Jesus, and she purposely had that for him, but yet she used it early. So did she know something that was a little bit more information than anybody else kind of heard? Because his disciples certainly didn't. Because we do not know whether Mary obviously heard those words from Jesus, but we can be sure, whatever her reason, Mary seized the opportunity to honor Jesus publicly and to give him the comfort of her loyalty and love. Public worship of Jesus is especially costly during heightened hostilities against him. What's going on? People are wanting him dead at this moment in time. So to worship Jesus is a cost. John describes the scene. Mary pours out, and it's called pure nard. It's an extremely expensive perfume over Jesus' feet. The Gospel of Matthew and Mark add that she poured it first over his head. Imagine that, someone just dumping all their aftershave and perfume over your head. It's spitting it out everywhere. But after emptying the jar, Mary lets down her long hair to use it as one would as a common towel. So she used her hair as a towel. John draws our attention to Mary's great humility. She pours the most precious ointment possible on Jesus' feet as a token of honor and worship. Then she lovingly dries his feet with her hair, which proper Jewish custom kept bound in public. So she wasn't allowed to even take her cloaky thing. I can't remember what they call them, but the headscarf. She wasn't allowed to take that. She wasn't allowed to show her, but she took off her cloaky thing. That's a theological term. And show her, but not only show her, but she was using her hair to dry his feet. And, as the conversation that follows shows her personally vulnerable, extravagant expression of love and honor, it deeply affects Jesus. Can you imagine the smells that have been going on in that room? How powerful and how beautiful that smell would have been. As the fragrance fills the room, Jesus breaks the beautiful moment with sharp words. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. I mean, this isn't just your cheapy aftershave that you've just got off the market. No. This is like a year's wage for somebody. No, Judas's resentment and bitterness contrasts with Mary's devotion. Judas's words are insensitive. It's hurtful toward Mary and seem to imply that Jesus is not worth her costly gift. Yet the perfume was hers, and she could use it however way she wanted to. John highlights Judas's hypocrisy by including the disciples' later discovery. Despite Judas feigning concerns that he'd been stealing money from the disciples, this is what he was like. He had a bad character, Judas, and so he would obviously help himself to the money. And Jesus actually put him in charge of the money. And that just shows you the kind of character Jesus is. He's just like, I know what he's like. I'm going to give him the opportunity to just do the right thing. But obviously, Judas didn't and helped himself quite a lot. So maybe he was thinking, oh man, we could have sold this perfume for lots. Oh man, I could have had a big payday. I could have got myself some really snazzy sandals from down the market, and he's gutted because Mary's just launched this perfume all over Jesus' head and his feet, and the place is smelling of whatever it smelled like. But he's kind of fuming, isn't he? But Jesus immediately defends Mary, saying, "Leave her alone. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial." Jesus' words do not mean Mary should have kept the perfume until he had died. Instead, he affirms his true follower, Mary, was acting in harmony with God's purpose. The unspoken question that rises up is, what was Judas's intended purpose for his actions? Jesus points out to Judas that the poor would always be among them. But Jesus came only once in history to die for his people. He would be going away soon. So Judas is wrong, right? And Mary is right. She chose well in this moment to honor Jesus. The needy were not impoverished. They were provided for. But her personal gift offered to the Son of God was the ultimate gift that she could give. And it was an amazing way to honor him. According to John, a similar conflicting response to Jesus' return to Bethany are occurring outside. Crowds are curious about what happened to Lazarus, and they want to see Lazarus. They want to see it for himself. They probably heard rumors there's a zombie in town, and Jesus has raised this dude from the dead, and they want to see him for himself, and they want to know who this Jesus is, and want to see the person that he raised. And is it rumors? Is it real? Probably even the religious leaders, obviously, some of them who probably weren't there, heard the rumors, and they were like outside kicking off as well. But some of the rulers, as we carry on down the chapter, the religious rulers are considering actually murdering Lazarus, not Lazarus. They consider murdering Lazarus because of that he proves, right, that Jesus' power. He proves that he is God. And they didn't like that. The leaders are increasingly alarmed that many people are going over to Jesus and even believing in him. Oh, what shock. Mark and Matthew include Jesus' command that wherever the gospel is preached, Mary's costly gift of adoration will be remembered. And here we are reading about it right now. We remember Mary's devotion and that Judas felt the sting of Jesus' defense. Man, that must have really, really stung. It made me feel like you just got to kick up the butt. Mark's gospel says Judas decided then, while the aroma of Mary's act of worship still filled the air, to go to the chief priests to betray Jesus. That just shows his character. You know, he's got a little bit scorned, so he's like, oh, I'm going to go and tell on you. I wonder how many times that we get frustrated with someone who calls us out when they're right and we're wrong, and how we react. Do we act like a Judas and run off crying, or do we just suck it up and go, right, yes, I was wrong? No, Mary couldn't have imagined what recalling her act forever would mean. But the Lord promises that when believers stand at God's throne, he reveals and rewards every act of devotion, costly suffering, and sacrificial generosity offered for his sake. Our lives are one giant act of devotion. You know, even if you acts are offered in faith and seem unnoticed at the time, know that for certain that God sees them. You know, you might, I don't even know, you know, just doing something. It's like doing something with your right hand that your left hand doesn't see. You know, doing things out of love, doing things unnoticed, doing things that impact people's lives without receiving a reward. It doesn't go unnoticed. He sees you, and he will reward that. He will reward that not only with the jewels and is in heaven, but just with his goodness, his favor, and his abundance over your lives. So he is perfect, isn't he? He's just perfect. I've just noticed that we're on 27 minutes and we're on. So what I'll do is I'll close for now, but I would love to answer any questions that we might have. And I'll just any questions about what we've been talking about. What if there's anything that really stood out to you? I would love to just connect with you guys, or if there's any prayer requests, and then we'll carry on John chapter 12 next week, and we'll carry on from verse 12. Actually, we're on right now. So from next week, we will come together again, and we will talk on John chapter 12 to 22. We'll try and get that far. So I managed to get up to verse 11, which I thought I would in half an hour. So that's good. Do you want to lift? I don't live far from church. Thank you so much, Juliana. I really appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. I think India's going to be picking me up. She's at my house now with my wife. She lives in Rainford as well. So she's going to kindly come and pick me up, which is very kind. I've got a bus ticket. I got a bus this morning, but it's very kind of you, Juliana. I really appreciate that. But thank you for being on. And thank you for all those who are on tonight as well. If there's anything I can pray for you for before we leave, then let me know. Otherwise, I will pray for you all, and then we'll call tonight an early one. I normally try and do an hour, usually. But I've got to tidy up as well. Because I'm still at church. But please do read along with me. Do email in if you've got any prayer requests or you want to connect. We would love to be able to help you out. We would love to be able to connect with you. Hopefully you've watched the service from Sunday and the vision that's just been released, the new vision, which is very exciting. If you haven't watched that, do go and check it out. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. Some great things happening at the moment. God is doing some amazing things here. And I'm really blessed to be a part of that. My email address, let me just put it I'll put it on my phone. There you go. That's my email address there. But yes, do contact. We are in process. Carl and Tracy Wayne are on holiday at the moment. They're in Disneyland Paris, which is lovely. When they get back, me and Carl are going to be doing a Bible study. I just need to. I've really spoke to Carl since leaving to go away in May, so we're going to be chatting when he gets back, and then we will give you a date. That will be in July. We got Olu as well. Olu is one of our online pastors as well, and he's going to be doing it as well. He's going to be doing a Zoom Bible study. So Carl and Olu and myself we're doing that. So it's going to be really awesome to be a part of. Oh yeah, I believe that it got cut off. Yeah, I think we're going to try and redo that. It's going to go out and everyone will be able to hear read what's going on. But yeah, there were some technical difficulties again, which is not great. Good old internet. Well, Lord, I just want to thank you for tonight. I want to thank you, God, that you are good. That God, that you challenge us. That God, all you want is our devotion. All you want is our worship. All you want is us to just be 110% sold out for you. And we just ask you, Lord, right now, these people are watching, either watching now live or watching later. God, that you will bless them, you will keep them safe. That God, that you'll speak to them, open their eyes, open their ears, just to have deeper encounters with you. You are forever good, and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Cool. So thank you so much for being on, and I will see you next Wednesday live at 8 p.m. and do tune in on Sunday. We will be live as well, and have a great week. God bless you all. See you soon.